Crashing is a part of owning a motorcycle. It's just going to happen. At some time and point, you will crash. I've crashed many times.
Oh, yeah.
And to be quite honest, it sucks. And aside from yourself getting hurt, another big factor is your actual bike getting hurt too. So how can you stop that? Now there are some crashes that you can prevent and there's ones that you just can't. Therefore, we go towards crash protection pieces. Now today I'm going to be installing axle sliders. I'm going to have rear and front axle sliders from Warp9, and I actually didn't see any directions with these or how to install them. So we're going to attempt to do that today. But when you place them on the bike and you really look at them, they only stick out maybe an inch or two from the actual axle point itself. I mean, the foot peg sticks out farther than that. So do they actually work? Because when you really look at it, the first things that are probably going to hit if this bike goes down will most likely be the foot pegs and or the handlebars. And these foot pegs are already beefy enough, and I've already got actual bark busters on the bars that are made of aluminum or something or metal. I don't know. That will most likely take the brunt of it. But those frame sliders will probably help save some components down below. Take, for example, this plastic piece on the front. Now this is going to protect any sort of brake rotor that's going to be inside. It's going to help protect your wheel. And most importantly, it's going to help protect your forks. But at the same time, when we look to the back, this little plastic piece probably won't do much because your exhaust is going to hit way before this will. I mean, it'll still protect a chain, a sprocket, a wheel, some of the other components, but the overall focus would be then for the actual swing arm and making sure that that is protected. But can these little pieces actually hold up at a high-speed crash? My guess is probably not. I think these are more for just your parking lot tip over, you know, the car running into it in the garage, any sort of low speeds, maybe if you're attempting wheelies, sort of parking lot dumps. But if you're really actually moving at a higher rate of speed, I have a feeling this won't do anything. I mean, you'd have to really kind of cage this thing out and make sure it's, you know, fully protected if you're then going to look at frame damage or, you know, any sort of engine cases cracking or really sort of preventing that heavy duty damage. Then again, if you are riding at top speed and you do decide to yeet it, you're probably not saving much off of any motorcycle, even with all the crash protection. So I guess they just look cool and they're orange. So let's put them on. So now that we've made it to the garage, what we're gonna need is a few tools in here that you might not have at home or different ways around it. But at least you can see kind of how I do it and you can manipulate your own tools that way. But we're gonna start with the rear first. And what you're gonna need for the rear is this nut that Warp9 provides you with that is essentially going to be a locking nut, your factory nut that goes on the axle itself, and of course a vice grip. So first thing we're gonna do is clamp the end that's stuck on there into the vice grip so that we can thread the other side and hopefully break this thing off, and then vice versa replace it. Let's get into it. Now I'm going to take my so-called crescent wrench. Nope. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Do you not have a big enough crescent wrench? You don't have a big enough crescent wrench. Seriously? I bet these vice grips aren't gonna work either. Oh, you don't have anything that's big enough?
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
Oh, dude, what? We're gonna go buy one. Damn it.
A few moments later.
Look at this. Oh, I got the biggest one I could find. Thank you, Harbor Freight. All right. I could have got the smaller one, but this one's just too good. How can you not? All right. Righty tight, lefty loose. Ooh. That seems. I wonder if I'll be able to. Oop. Coming out nice and smooth. Look at that. So I'm gonna leave that just like that. Always. All right, and this factory block is out. So now what we're going to do, replace it with this. All right. So it looks like we got some threading. Gonna set this up. This really doesn't matter on the direction, on which way you put it on, upside down, left and right. So we just need to get it on there. So I'm going to protect the pretty anodized piece. All right, that should be fine. Whoa. Okay, so now I'm going to be taking some red Loctite because I for sure don't want this coming off, and going to be putting a little bit on there to be threading it in. So now that that is in, I'm going to be torquing to 60 pounds, which should be 65. 60 foot-pounds of torque. There we go. One more for safety. There we go. All right, and now we are going to be backing this nut off. There we go. Perfect. Oh, this thing is awesome. When am I ever gonna use this again? Oh, I didn't even need to do that. Oh God, that is great. And boom, there you go. So this is now complete. Attached, torqued, Loctited, and all set. Now the threads do come out a good amount on this side of the plate itself, but I think it'll be okay. So this, we can set off to the side, and we are done. Now for the front, what you're actually gonna notice is this piece is actually capped. So you can't see through it. So if I would take my iPhone light and I would stick it in one side, it's not coming out the other side. So there's this little piece, I don't know if I'll be able to show it, inside of there that you've got to remove. So that should just be, I'm gonna guess, a little 8mm socket to remove that bolt, so then you can get that rod all the way through once this is on the bike. And then that's all you really have to do for the front. Let me make sure it's an 8mm. That is not, it's bigger than an 8. Boop. All right, now you can see all the way through it. See? Okay, and I just removed, with a 10mm socket, this little plastic cap. And then now that that is done, the front's done. So we're ready to go put these on the bike. All right, back inside. You know, after getting these on and looking at them for a few days, I think they would actually help a lot in a crash. I mean, let me give you an example. So you're riding along and then all of a sudden you start to fall, and the first things that are going to hit the ground are most likely going to be those axle sliders. I mean, just looking at it from a toy example, I mean, boop, that's the first place it's going to hit. That will probably hit, then your foot peg, then handlebars, and the rest of the bike from there. So I think that will actually help when it comes to any other fall. Now, I'm not good at geometry and I kind of failed a lot of math classes, but really looking at it, they may save a lot and actually make a pretty big difference. So I'm kind of glad I have them. Not to mention I just spent a bunch of money to powder coat those wheels, so I want to protect them as much as I can. Now I hope I never have to use these. I mean, never. I really don't want to, but they're nice to have just in case. And, well, I mean, they're orange and they look good. So I guess next step is the chain, number plate, and then we're done. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any other questions or if you have Warp9 sliders, let me know if, well, I did it right or messed anything up. Until then, remember, keep riding.